By population, the gayest place in the United States is our nation's capital. Washington, D.C. has the largest per capita population of LGBT folks in the United States by far, according to a new survey from the Williams Institute at UCLA. With 9.8% self-identifying as LGBTQ+, DC is well above the largest state or territory, which is Oregon, with 5.6% of the population. Vermont has the largest population per capita of same-sex couples in the nation and the seventh largest LGBTQ population overall. The new demographic data comes soon after a recent report showing the number of LGBTQ identifying adults is rising nationwide. According to Gallup, about 7% of adults now say they identify themselves as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or something other than heterosexual in 2021. That is double the number seen in 2012 when the number reported was 3.5%. I suspect this is driven most likely by a rise in acceptance of LGBT communities. We've seen a lot of pride parades and that sort of stuff coming up, and it's sort of ubiquitous, as well as an acceptance of bi and pansexuality increasing in the nation, and just basically a lessening of pressure to be so strictly heterosexual. Members of Generation Z, born 1997 to 2003, reported the largest percentage of identifying as LGBTQ plus at 21%, compared to 11% in millennials. LGBTQ plus identities rates lessen respectively as you move up up to the older generational groups. Reporting by the Vermont Digger found that the survey showed some important insights that were lacking historically. The data is a rare insight into the demographics of LGBTQ plus folks in Vermont, since data collection in those communities has historically been fairly limited, according to Kate German, director of the PRISM Center, an office that supports LGBTQ plus people at the University of Vermont. The 2020 census was the first to collect data on same-sex couples. According to LGBTQ community leaders, the state is known for its legal protections, and acceptance of diversity is high amongst Vermonters. That may contribute to people being more willing to openly identify as LGBTQ, or even encourage folks to come to the state seeking a more welcoming environment. We were the first on the bus of a lot of places to get those legal protections, said Kel Arbor, Health and Wellness Director at the Pride Center of Vermont, which advocates for the health and wellness and safety of LGBTQ people. So that creates the draw. Then people look at our state as, oh, you're ahead of the curve, you're safe and welcoming. Vermont was the first state to allow same-sex civil unions in 2000 and was the fourth state to legalize same-sex marriage in 2009. The state also bans discrimination in housing and public places by sexual orientation or gender identity, bans conversion therapy on LGBTQ minors, and requires health insurance to cover gender-affirming surgery. Vermont has passed to protect LGBTQ plus rights as recently as last year, when Governor Phil Scott signed legislation banning the LGBTQ plus panic defense, which uses a victim's gender identity as a basis for hate and violence. In stark contrast to Vermont, Texas, the state with the second largest overall population of LGBTQ plus folks in the nation, according to the 2017 version of the study, but the state which has put forth some of the most aggressive legislation and policy moves against the trans and greater LGBTQ plus community in recent years. In the 2020 survey, Texas didn't rank in the top 20 because the report is based on overall population, so the percentage of the population. There isn't a difference between Vermont and Texas when it comes to food insecurity, however, for the LGBTQ population, with 27% of respondents in the community having trouble regularly providing food for themselves or their families. So a lot of good data in this latest version of the study that adds to what we saw in 2017. As I reported here, the version that was released, or at least what I was able to find, is based on percentage of population and doesn't include overall population numbers for us to just browse equally or easily. Again, Texas has the second greatest population of LGBT folks, but some of the worst legislation against them, which is just an unfortunate truth about the power structure in Texas and how the environment is there for so many of our people.